floor with a brief introduction, and be sure to keep your eyes on the timer in front of us there.
There we go.
Yes.
Do I begin now?
Yes, I'm sorry, I just want to, Lynn Bradshaw Hall, the current judge of the 280th will begin.
Good morning. I'm Lynn Bradshaw Hall. I am serving you as judge of the 280th District Court, recently designated for the domestic violence and more specifically applications for protective orders. You should know every day I have the opportunity to address those in my court to let them know that the reason this court exists is because Texas is weary of people who do not value or appreciate peace in their relationships and the circumstances that it places children. I get to let them know that the government code provides not only that I have a mandate from the legislature to timely and efficiently manage emergency requests for protective orders, but also to promote an informed, consistent response to cases involving domestic violence in an effort to lessen misdemeanors, felonies, and fatalities. I take that mandate quite seriously, along with my oath. And while this is technically a new court, I am not a new judge. And I bring almost 19 years of judicial experience, 30 years at bar, and a full command of the authority vested in the district court to bring that message to those parties that would require it. I hope by now you have gone to the court's website to see that I've brought about information for the process, which not all private lawyers deal with, in an effort to help, that I've provided innovations for referrals to battery intervention, prevention, counseling programs. And for those of you who have been in the court, you know that there are more folks participating in the BIT programs. When I began, there was only one accredited program. Now we're fortunate to have many. It is something unique that I hope demonstrates the value in generations to come. My goal is to make sure that I get the best from those who wish to be leaders in their children's lives, not a burden. I thank you for this opportunity to address you, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Now we'll hear from Barbara Stalker, the other candidate.
Thank you. First, let me say thank you to the organization for inviting us here today. I look forward to the opportunity of getting to know each and every one of you if I haven't already. My name is Barbara Stalker, and I'm running for the 280th District Court. As you know, the 280th District Court is a dedicated family violence court. It is the only kind of court of its kind in the state of Texas. And I believe that Harris County men, women, and children deserve a judge with the education and experience to take that court to a much higher level. You deserve a judge with the education and experience who understands the very complex dynamics of family violence, who understands the intersection between family law and the granting of a protective order. And you need a judge who's willing to take a hard stance against domestic violence and protect the men, women, and children of Harris County. I am that person. I have over 20 years experience working in the area of domestic violence. First as a community advocate in El Paso, Texas, then in Harris County when I came here to complete my undergraduate degree so I could go to law school. And I've also had 12 years experience as a lawyer working with victims of domestic violence. I represented men, women, and children in protective order cases and in custody and divorce cases. I've also had the opportunity to be appointed in the last 6 years working at the University of Houston Law Center in our clinic program as amicus attorneys for the 9 family court judges. We have done an excellent job for you as lawyers, but most of all for the children of Harris County. In my role as amicus, I am an extension of the judge. We are the person who goes out and investigates the facts of the case. We're the person who takes that information back to the judge in order for the judge to make a more informed decision. In that role, I am forced to be objective, I'm forced to evaluate the information, and I need to be able to look at all sides of the story. If you're looking for a judge who has the education and experience, the person who totally understands the intersection between domestic violence and family law, I am that person. And I can leave you with the idea that I am also board certified in family law, and I'm very proud of that fact. Thank you very much.
Okay, the first question, and we are starting with Judge Bradshaw Hall. How do you explain the decline in the number of protective orders issued by the 280th?
Well, actually, the numbers, if you saw in the article, represent through the report that the actual numbers, a percentage of protective orders has gone up that have been granted by 52%. 2008, 2009, and 2010 represent 49% have been granted. So in terms of asking me about applications that have never been filed, I cannot speculate. I certainly see what was recorded. But again, this is a process that's evidence-driven, and the analysis that lawyers give in a client's case, I assume, is the reason they choose to file or not to file. I do not know. Although I will say there are a number of cases, much more now than in the past, that are filed per se. So I do not know exactly how many may have come having been declined from other lawyers.
Okay, I'm going to phrase it a little differently with the same question. What are your thoughts on the reported decline in the number of protective orders issued by the 280th?
As to why I think the number of protective orders have declined, that have been granted, is that the question? Let me just make sure I understand it.
Issued by?
Why I think that they have not been issued by Judge Bradshaw Hall?
Yes.
I have personal thoughts about that, based on conversations that I've had with lawyers. I can't speak to what Judge Bradshaw Hall is thinking when she's not granting a protective order or she's deciding to grant a protective order. But I can tell you that if you don't understand domestic violence, then it's going to be really hard to grant a protective order when you don't know what it really means. And it's my understanding that based on what I've been able to find, that Judge Bradshaw Hall doesn't have any experience in domestic violence, nor does she have any experience in family law, nor has she handled a family law case, and she's been basically a career judge. I also can't find any information that she's ever attended a CLE on domestic violence or family law. So if you don't get it, if you don't understand it, then it's going to be really hard to rule on something when you don't know what the ramifications are. So in my limited knowledge of that particular, sort of what's going on in that court, based on what others have told me, and I will say I don't go in there, and I don't go in there because I don't want to subject my clients to being re-battered or re-abused because of the treatment that they have felt that they have gotten in court. I think if you're uneducated and you don't know, then you're not going to do the right thing.
Okay. Next question, I'll start with you, Ms. Holder. What specific ideas do you have for improving the court, the 280th, as it currently exists?
Thank you. Yes, I actually have a couple of ideas. The first thing is I think we need to introduce technology into the court. We have a wonderful opportunity to, the way our court is set up, our civil court is set up, and moving all the family courts over there, and this is what the 280th is. We have a wonderful opportunity to use Skype or video conferencing or court call to be able to allow victims to testify, to allow alleged batters to testify, or even allow the attorneys to testify. It's very difficult to be in two counties at once, and you get from one end of Harris County or Fort Wayne County or Brazoria County to another county. It's very difficult. And in this age of technology where everyone has a smartphone and everybody has Skype on their phone, I think that that would be a really good use of technology. In addition, court call is free for the courts. The only person who is charged for that is the person who uses it. And I think that that would be a really great way to introduce technology. The second thing I would do that I would bring on board is I think it would be really important to bring an advocate into the court system. Now, I'm not sure how that person would be paid. Maybe we could partner with U of H Social Work or U of H Downtown or one of the local schools. But I think it would be a really great way to bring an advocate into the court system to help the people navigate the system, to show them what resources are available to them and how they can use those resources to help move them from where they are into the workforce, to get housing, transportation, and make sure that their kids in school and things like that.
Thank you. Same question, what specific ideas do you have for improving the 280?
Well, essentially when I came on board, there was an attempt to provide website information and guidelines for those who are practicing in the protective order court. This court was the first of the family division to be mechanized, and I began piloting through FreeFax in April of 2011. In addition, that was at least piloted by the DA's office, I believe ADVA as well. You should note that with regard to the whole feature of education and so forth, I always maintain that I have to keep the practitioners apprised of all the new changes in the law, which do come from the domestic violence programs that I regularly attend. I do not quite know why she does not know that. But then again, my opponent did not file her personal financial statement and was fined. And the fine is still outstanding with the Texas Ethics Commission. And 4 out of 5 of her filings are untimely. So perhaps navigating the internet for that information was a problem.
Okay, final question. And I'll start with Judge Rachel Hall. Do you believe that children should automatically be part of a protective order if one is granted for the custodial parent, and why or why not?
One more time?
I'm sorry. Do you believe that children should automatically be part of a protective order, a protected party, if one is issued for the custodial parent? Is it automatic? Why or why not?
Well, the evidence again must drive the order. These are powerful tools. You should know that family violence is defined as conduct by the respondent against any applicant that was intended to result in injury, harm, assault, sexual assault, or threats that reasonably place someone in fear of imminent injury, harm, assault, or sexual assault. And then the issues of abuse pursuant to 261.0011 C, E, and G alone, which means something beyond corporal punishment. E is with regard to sexual conduct harmful to the child, and G is prostituting the child for sexual purposes. Again, the evidence drives much of this. However, instrumentalities can be a component that a child can be protected when the custodial parents, residence, place of employment, business, daycare, and school are protected and off limits. The schools and the daycares get copies of the protective orders, and thus, in my view, it serves the same purpose. You should also know there are some, by agreement, that do not wish to go forward on a protective order that they cannot have vacated inside 1 year to include the children. Now, I have the authority vested so that in that 2-year period, I may modify that order in whatever way assures that it remains protected. I will tell you, today, I have only had 1 out of the 5,700 applications.
Okay, thank you. And the same question to you, and I'll rephrase it since it's long. Do you believe that children should be automatically part of a protective order if one is granted for the custodial parent, and why or why not?
I think the term automatic is really what triggers whether or not children should be included in the protective order. I think you have to look at the facts of each and every case. I think that children, whether they see the domestic violence occurring, whether they hear the domestic violence occurring, whether they were present when it was occurring, are affected by it nonetheless. We know through studies that children who have been in the home when domestic violence occurs often have a change in the brain chemistry. I believe Dr. Bruce Perry speaks about that. In addition, we know that children who have been raised in domestic violence homes are more likely to drop out of school. They're more likely to have substance abuse issues, and they're more likely to repeat the pattern by marrying someone much like the batterer or much like the victim. I think that children need to be included in the protective order in order to protect the children. The batterer often uses children as a weapon against against the victim or against the survivor. Children need to be protected by the batterer because they too are victims. So depending on the particular situation, yes, I would include children in the protective order.
Thank you. Okay, now for closing statements, Judge Bradshaw, if you would like to close first.
Thank you. Once again, I thank you for this opportunity to address you. Every day we come to know of a certain case that may be in the media about the issues of domestic violence. And that raises the issues of not only expectations of our process, the law that relates to our process, but as also the realities of these types of cases. It is my goal, obviously, to be reelected to this position because you should know, not only do I witness the tragedies, but I also have an opportunity to witness the triumphs for those who decide to make a change. The Battering Intervention Prevention Program and those facilitators accredited by the state of Texas, in my view, are the true champions of this cause. And if you believe this is cyclical, then you also have to have enough compassion to know that the parties that stand before you, whether they've reached an agreement for the terms of the protective order, which is the majority of cases, that they may well have an adult before me with an inner child that is in fact part of that cycle. The goal is to get a mindset change, and those respondents who come before me tell me that they did not realize certain things that make them can be unlearned. That they can do that without feeling disrespectful to those models that they may have had in their lives. And that they trust that they can do better for their children and for their children's children. That makes this court a unique opportunity. And I will always work toward setting the appropriate tone to meet that end. Again, because people decide to make a difference, which is why I have those respondents appear early, so those coming in for the 9 o'clock docket have an opportunity to see what can happen if they choose to make the change. I want to thank you very much once again. I hope to have received your vote here today in the straw poll, and I look forward to continuing in the service that I am uniquely qualified for, and invite you to my website, judgebradshawhall.net.
Ms. Solder, if you'd like to close.
Thank you. Thank you again for the opportunity to be able to speak with you today. I appreciate it very much. It's time for change. But more importantly, we can do better. We can protect the men, women, and children of Harris County by making a change. I am the candidate, with the right education and experience to take this court to the next level. I am the candidate who will protect our men, women, and children against further violence. The granting of a protective order is a very, very serious thing. It need not be taken lightly. But folks, if you don't grant a protective order, and that person walks out of the room, they think they've won. The batterer goes and beats up the victim again, or God forbid, murders the victim. You can't unring the bell. When it's done, it's done. The granting of a protective order has other remedies for the person with whom the protective order is granted against. You can't bring someone back to life. You can't bring back a mom, a sister, a granddaughter, a niece, an aunt. And you can't tell a child that you're sorry you didn't grant a protective order, and you're sorry your mother is dead. I will do everything in my power to err on the side of caution in granting protective orders. We need to do a better job. We need to take a stand. And when you go to the polls on November 4th, and you go down ballot, and you cast your vote for me, you will be taking a stand against domestic violence, and you will be taking a stand for change. Thank you.